Hello everyone, my name is Christian and welcome back to my hobby blog. Today I wanted to talk about my favorite books this year that I have read. These are not new releases, some of them are newer releases, but these are mostly just books I've read in the first 6 months of 2024 that I really enjoyed. So without further ado, let's jump right in. The first book, and this is not in any order whatsoever, this is not chronological, this is not my least favorite to favorite. This is just as I grabbed them off the shelf. So, one of the books that I read this year has been. Well, let me redo this. So, I've been really getting into biographies lately, and this is one of the first ones that I read. I did read Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died. I read that early this year, I believe, on audiobook, and I really enjoyed it. So I've been reading more biographies, and this is one that I've already had for a number of years, and I finally dived into it because I've seen enough of this director's films, and is probably my favorite director. And it's one that he wrote back in the 80s, I believe, shortly before his death. And it is Akira Kurosawa's something like an autobiography. And this book recounts his life from the first memory that he has all the way to sort of the finishing of Rashomon and sort of the reactions to that movie. And everything that is in this book is so interesting. There are so many more layers than I thought there were to his films in regards to how it relates to his personal life. And I really enjoyed reading all about his behind the scenes sort of details that he had, where he was talking about shooting some of his early films, like his Most Beautiful Day, which I believe is his World War II propaganda film. And we also have a couple of stories about Men Who Tread on the Tiger's Tail, which is probably my favorite of his very early films. I think that's a short film, technically clocking in around 45 minutes, I think. But this was just absolutely amazing. I especially love the Rashomon section. That's one of my favorite movies by him. And I've discussed it already on this channel, so if you haven't watched that video, please go check it out. But this is a must read for anybody who likes Akira Kurosawa, because it gives you so much more detail and sort of connection to his movies than I already had, which I didn't think was possible. But this was just amazing. I wish he had done another biography sort of recounting his days after the shooting of Rashomon. And he really didn't talk about Toshiro Mifune really all that much, which makes sense because it was, I believe, a year before Toshiro Mifune and they died within just a year of each other. I believe it was very shortly before the deaths that they actually made up and became friends again, after about 30 or 40 years of, I guess 30 years of them not having a good relationship at all. So I wish there was more info about him, but I completely understand why he was not really included. He was only just discussed when it came to Rashomon. So this is something like an autobiography. Highly, highly recommend this one. The next book that I want to show is the first fantasy book that I am showing today. And this is a special edition that I got for Christmas from my dear friend. And this is the book by Brandon Sanderson. Takes place in the Cosmere. This is one of his secret novels. And this is Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. This is the Dragonsteel edition, so you get the really nice artwork within. And we also just have really great maps throughout, which not really shown up the best, but here's an example of one of the pictures. I won't show it for too long, just in case spoilers are being shown. But I really, really enjoyed this one. This is probably my favorite of the secret novels so far. I am not that big of a fan of Brandon Sanderson's romance, in any of his books, but I think this book has the best of it. And although I do consider it the best, I still think there's a lot of room for him to grow with that. And me and my friend Amber, we both talk about this a lot, where we feel as if his non-human characters are a lot more interesting. And there's also this sort of phenomenon where Brandon just kind of goes back and forth in terms of characterization, in my opinion, where some chapters, the character is just really, really great. I'm enjoying it. I think they're really well written. And then some chapters I just do not like. And this book had minimal amount of chapters. It took me a while to get into this book. But once I got into it, about 25% of the way into it, I really started to enjoy it more. So, and by the end of the book, it just really became one of my favorite Brandon Sanderson books. Aside from the romance aspect, I thought it was done somewhat well, but there's still a lot of just weird stuff. I don't know how to describe it, but it just does not. I don't know. It just doesn't seem as real to me. I don't know how to describe it, but I read it, so I really enjoyed it. I'm going to read Sunlit Man here soon. I have a couple other books I want to read first before I get to it. There's one series I'm going to be finishing here shortly. And then after that, I'll definitely have more time to read The Sunlit Man, which is the final of the secret novels. And I've read Tress, and I've also read... I guess that's the only other secret novel I've read. I've read Tress and Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. I'm not going to read Frugal Wizard's Guide to Britain, or whatever it's called. I don't really have any interest whatsoever in that, but I'm really excited to read Sunlit Man. But the next book I want to show you is actually two books. They're within the same trilogy, within the series called Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. Robin Hobb is an author who I really, really like. I think she has written some of the best books that I've ever read in the shape of the Farseer trilogy. And I'm happy to say that this trilogy, the next one that she wrote, the Liv Ship Traders, which is these books here, I think these are even better than Farseer trilogy. Book one is called Ship of Magic, which is this really cool cover. And then we have book two, which I just recently finished, called The Mad Ship. This was just absolutely amazing. I loved it. There's so much going on in each of these books, and I think the character work is just completely unparalleled. I love the characters in these books. Even if I hate them, I love the way that she writes them. They are completely believable. I think just this plot lines are just so well done. Each chapter feels like an entire novel for me, not just in terms of the pacing, but as well as the emotional toil that the I guess emotional toll, I guess, is the more correct word, but the emotional toll that Robin Hobb puts you through, and also the characters, is just so much, and I love it. This is a series that I will not read again once I finish it, but the journey of it is just so well done. And I have reviewed the Farseer trilogy on my channel already. I think that was one of the first book reviews that I'd done, was talking about all three books together. So if you want to know my thoughts on that series, please go check that out. I don't remember exactly what I said. It's been about 2 or 3 years, I want to say. But without a doubt, this is my favorite of the trilogies so far. And I'm so excited to return to Fitz after this, because we have 2 trilogies, I believe, with Fitz, who is the main character from the Farseer trilogy. But after those 2 trilogies, then we have a sequel trilogy with these characters. So I'm very, very excited to get to that, but I don't know when that will happen. Probably next year, I want to say. Hopefully not in 2 years, because I want to get through the series quicker. But the next book that I'm going to be showing is book 3 of this trilogy, and I read it back in August. Oh, no, not August. In January, I mean. And this is book 3 of Three Body Problem, Death's End. This is a bigger book, so I'm having to show it further away. But this is book 3 of the Three Body Problem series by Sijin Liu. And just recently, there was an adaptation by Netflix, which I think has been done very well. I rated it, I think, at a 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10 on a good day. But book 3 was just absolutely incredible. It blew my mind in every sort of way. I was not expecting the ending whatsoever. I loved it though. And although individual characters were not really that interesting to me, there were a good handful of them, like Luo Ji. I liked him a lot. I liked Sofan a lot. AA, she was great. Aside from those characters, I think the character work is not as good as these other series that I'm reading, but this is the first time in a while where I say the characters don't matter as much as the story. Because usually when I talk about fantasy, I talk about, and sci-fi, I talk about how much I prefer reading about character arcs and growth of characters over how the story is going. I'd much rather see a good character arc than a good story arc. If nothing is going on in the story, as long as the characters are interesting and, growing and not stagnating, I find myself really enjoying it anyways. And this book series was the first time where I felt as if that did not matter, and that the true focus of the series is the story. Because this is a story of mankind. Mankind is the main character of the series, and everyone else is just sort of comprising this overall character of mankind. And it is just absolutely jaw-dropping what happens throughout the series. There were multiple times where I was reading it, and I would come across a moment, and I would just put the book down and just kind of stare off in the distance, like, holy shit, like, did I just, read that? Oh my gosh, this was insane. And that happened in every book multiple times. Book 2 is probably my least favorite. Just to give a short review on the trilogy. Book 1 was just phenomenal. I loved it. Book 2, the first half of the book I did not care for whatsoever. But I think book 3, from beginning to end, I just loved it. It was just incredible from beginning to end. But I have one more book here that I want to show, and this is book 7 of the Malazan Book of the Fallen by Steven Erikson. This is, without a doubt, going to be my favorite series of all time, and I'm not even done with it. I knew that was going to happen when I finished book 2, which is still my favorite book of the series. But this is just, it has everything. It literally has everything. It has great characters, it has great fantasy creatures, it has great settings, great story. It has just anything that you could want. Malazan has it. And this book especially, I really, really enjoyed. Book 6, I sort of thought the pacing could have been a lot better. I love each of these books for different reasons, but book 7, I think, returns to form of what I expect out of Malazan, because I have very high standards for this series, because as I'm reading each book, I feel like I'm climbing a mountain of excellence. And this series is perfect for me as well, because this has everything that I want in a fantasy. It has the epic, it has really great characters, it has really great themes, thematical work as well. It has really great, just everything. I could go on all day, and I may go on all day here soon once I finish the series, but oh my god, Reaper's Gale was just incredible from beginning to end, and it was probably the fastest that I had read a Malazan book as well, so just, oh my gosh. I'm actually in the middle of Return of the Crimson God. I'm following Critical Dragon's reading order that he had just suggested on his YouTube channel, which is mixing in the Ian Esselmont books as well, the novels of the Malazan Empire, they are called. And Night of Knives, I believe, was after book 5, and then I'm now reading Return of the Crimson God, which is book 2 of that trilogy, which is supposedly takes place after book 7. There's stuff as recent as book 6, I believe, that I recognize going on. There's some Tisti Ida characters that are showing up in books, or not book 7, but Return of the Crimson God. There's main characters from Malazan, Book of the Fallen, showing up in this book, so I'm really enjoying that as well. It's just a great book so far. I'm about halfway done, maybe about 40% done at the earliest, or at the least. And oh my god, I'm loving Malazan. It's everything I could ever want from a fantasy series. But these have sort of been my favorite books of the year. We're halfway done. I've read about 22 books, I believe. My goal this year is 50, so I'm not on track, but I think I'll catch up just fine, because I have Brian Johnson's autobiography. He's the singer of AC/DC. That released about a year and a half ago to 2 years ago. And so I'm reading through that right now, an audiobook, while I'm at work working on stuff. And I'm also reading book 3 of the Liv Ship Traders Here Soon. And I'm also reading a religious text, which is actually more of a epic called the Mahabharata, which is a Indian, not really novel, but historical text, I would call it. And it's really beefy, is so chock full of details and family lineages and just characters. There's thousands of characters, I think. The foreword or introduction of the book said that there was over 2 million characters in that book. So I'm going very slow through that book right now, so I can really sink my teeth into it and not just blow past it and not really know what was going on. So aside from that, I have a ton of books, as you all have seen in my TBR video that I done a few weeks ago. I'm getting through a good number of books, though. Every time I do a video like this, at least last year, it seemed like every time I did these videos, the TBR shrunk quite a bit. So hopefully I can continue that. If not, that's okay. But thank you all so much for watching, and please have a great rest of the day.